Hey guys, Al Lewison.
Cam McLellan, welcome to today's Wealth WOD. We've got with us a special guest, Michael, expert property guy Beresford, also known as affectionately as Bozza. I want to talk today about the upcoming election, Boz. What dates are called? May 18th?
May 18th.
18th, that's right. Quickly, I want to get a snapshot of what the different policies are for the major parties and what your take in was, how that will affect the property landscape, the lending landscape. What's the talk on the town? Because you're out on the streets with
Start with the Greens. Major parties.
And I assume you want to keep it to property related stuff. So
my grandma votes for Green, so don't you bang back too much.
So short and sharp. Obviously, the one that everyone's hearing about is negative gearing and capital gains tax. That's the main one really affecting, or the only one really affecting investors. The Coalition's policy, which it has been forever and a day, is to retain negative gearing. So any property that is being negatively geared today and is bought after the election can still be negatively geared. The Labor policy is that any property that is bought prior to December 31st and before of 2019 can be negatively geared and still get all those benefits. So a common misconception is once the election happens, their policy will take effect. That's not true. They've come out in the last 2 or 3 weeks and announced that it will take effect from January 1st because they need to pass some stuff through legislation, a whole bunch of boring stuff that politicians do. Not fun stuff that investors do. But the other fact that's not well known is that even beyond January 1st, new property will still be getting full negative gearing benefit. So it's only established property that you won't be able to claim the tax benefits.
So why are they doing that? Because it's important to people to understand why they're making these suggestions and changes. And as an investor, specifically ourselves, what that means to us when we're investing in the type of properties we recommend to invest in.
It's pretty simple really. It comes down to supply and demand. So we've got an ageing population in Australia, an increasing number shifting into retirement. That means more pension payments for the government. They need to pay for that somehow. So we've got a commitment to skill migration to generate tax revenue through workers. So those people need to live somewhere. So if we're already in a property under supply in the major capital cities, but investors are doing something about providing new property to market, then that's why the tax benefits stay for new property. Not established property because you're not actually doing anything.
So we need increased population growth, but we're not building enough houses. So they want to get incentives to assist that.
And just to really clarify, so it comes in January next year, 2020.
If
Labor get in, next March, I buy a new property, brand new, I can still get negative gearing.
100%.
Okay, wow.
There you go. So really, if you're buying new property, which I would recommend buying because you get the taxation benefits, then nothing changes.
So taxation benefits are one part, but you obviously minimise your maintenance risk and you get more rent, and there are a whole bunch of other benefits there.
Capital gains tax, what's the effect there?
Yeah, so basically the amount of capital gains tax that you have to pay will increase under a Labor government. So what that means is that there will be less houses being sold because people that don't want to be paying more tax will hold on to their properties. So personal opinion here, but I actually think the Labor policy is somewhat flawed in terms of what it's trying to achieve, because if there's less property sales going on, that'll mean less stamp duty revenue for the government. They'll need to find taxes elsewhere, which will be unpopular, and it'll mean that given that there's less supply available on the market, but we've talked about increasing demand, we'll see prices rising anyway, and we'll see an increased need for the government to spend a lot of money, billions, on infrastructure to the more affordable areas to be able to house this population.
It'd be interesting to see if they did any wide-scale surveys to find out whether people, and looked at the numbers to see whether people would actually reduce the time frame when they sold those properties to reduce the taxation rate.
And is the grandfathering there too?
Grandfathering, good question. So,
what does grandfathering mean?
Yeah, grandfathering means if you have bought an investment property in a certain set of circumstances, i.e. negative gearing is you're eligible for it, then even if Labor come in and change the policy, you still get the negative gearing benefit because you've got the property already. So if you have 2 investment properties that you're negative gearing today and Labor get in, obviously they're established properties at that point, you still get tax benefits because you made a decision based on today's circumstances.
So if Labor do get in to take advantage of the capital gains current rules, which are more advantageous, buy a property between now and January?
Yep.
Okay.
December 31.
December 31. To be technical.
Don't do it in January, depending on your buy.
Yeah. All right. So now I don't know how many different elections you guys have been through. I'm trying to guesstimate now, but over the last 20 years, maybe six thereabouts. The sun's risen after each election. Do you know what I mean? The same things get talked about every time, but over the long term, regardless of which policies come in the nitty-gritty policies, what happens with pricing in Australia? What's the long-term plan of Australia?
Supply and demand still happens.
It was a loaded question.
And this part's not loaded, but I'll say it anyway because I say it all the time. For those that want to do something and do something positive, they'll find a reason to do it. Those that want to find a reason not to do it will do it. And elections are a really good reason to sit on your hands and do nothing. Those that generally take action realise that the sun will come up May 19 and things will continue on as they always do.
Yeah, but the safest bet now is buy a property sooner than later, because then you're under all the current clauses.
Yep.
Yeah. So then safeguard it. So
that's
if
it.
you've got the money, go and buy a property.
Thanks, Paul. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, buddy.